Hi everyone. So one of you asked me if I would do a video on how I close my ball chain ends or how I make loops for them. So I thought I'd do a 5-minute video. When you buy ball chain on a roll, usually it comes with these grain closures. There's usually one closure for every length because it's intended to be the clasp. I don't use the little closure that way. I cut my chain to length. I use 2 grains. I crimp them onto the last ball in the chain, and then I use about 4 or 5 inches of 20 gauge or 22 gauge wire. You could also use head pins if you prefer to not make your own. I'll just take a plier and I'll close this little end. You need to make a little knot down here, so take the smallest bit and just fold it all the way over on itself as tiny as you can get it. My ball chain is 1.5 millimeters, so that grain's pretty small. So I'm just making it a real tiny little hook, just like that, just enough to be caught inside the grain. I'm going to pass the wire through the top of the grain, and I'm going to land that little hook right here in the middle. It's just some bulk so that you have something to hold on to it. And then I'm going to crimp this closure down, this grain down onto the wire. Make it as neat as you can. Make sure that little bit stays inside there. I usually tap it from the sides. Make it as narrow and neat as you can. Make sure it's nice and smooth. And then you can just use your round nose plier and do a standard loop closure at the end. So I'll bend my wire 90 degrees, make a bigger loop than that. Take it over my plier, come all the way around 360 the plier at the size you want your loop, and then a real tight 2 turns will do it around the neck, nice and neat, just like that. Get a little plier, do some nice tapping to get it all settled. Cut your end off. Give it a slight slant on the cut so that it lays flush. Give a little sanding right there. And then take this into a jump ring and then into your clasp. The reason why I close these in this way with 2 rings versus putting my clasp right on this wire and I use a jump ring instead is because if something happens and you have to change that end, then you don't have to redo your ball chain closure. You can just let the jump ring go. And then, go into a different clasp. So I'll show that here in a second. Just fold my wire back, give myself a nice loop, go 360 around your plier, nice and straight, and then a real close couple of wraps right here, nice and straight, tiny little snip, tap everything down nice and neat. Make sure you don't feel that end. If you do, you can get a little sandpaper on it, just like that, nice and neat. And now from here, I can go to jump rings and a clasp. So I'll get a couple of those out. Okay, so I have 2 4mm jump rings here. I like to use them small because I use these chains for my smaller pendants. Just like this, straight into your clasp, and then close the ring. You can use 2 pliers to close it. Just do a little jiggle with 2 pliers here at the end of your ring. Fit them back together, and then you have a nice clean closure on the one side. You can give a little bigger ring or the same ring on the opposite side, or no ring at all, and the hook can go straight into the opposite wire for closure. Okay, that's nice, it's clean, and it's simple, and it lets you use your 1.5 millimeter ball chain. These are real small, they're real strong, and they're great for small pendants. So if you keep the closure small, then this side of it should go through most of your bales. Alright, there you go, you guys. Enjoy! Thanks for being here. Please give me comments or thumbs up if you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you'll check out some of my other wire wrapping tutorials, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.